Yeah, it says any background music you play while streaming on online
How
platforms
do
such
you
as
keep your people?
Twitch or YouTube is subject to copyright law.
Then we'll just get straight into it, baby. We're about to watch this Ye interview.
The artist, formerly
Controversial.
known as Kanye West, is a visionary, hailed by some as
Huh?
one of the greatest creative minds of all time.
Kanye West,
I don't know. We'll see.
Kanye West. Kanye West.
Kanye West feeling the backlash from his recent social media rant.
I hope so.
But he's certainly not without controversy. Some know him more for his headlines than
Gotta
his hits.
re-upload Down Brokers.
His high-profile marriage with Kim Kardashian, the relationship with his children, his outbursts on social media, and most recently ending a deal with The Gap and threatening to end his deal with Adidas. We sit down to have a conversation with Ye.
I mean, it was supposed to be a 10-year deal with Adidas and Gap. Why did you want to terminate it?
You know, it's those nuances where people act like they your daddy or something. They purposely didn't open the stores that they were supposed to. How am I born in Atlanta and it's not a store in Atlanta? How am I raised in Chicago and it's not a store in Chicago? That means that
Homie's just trying to represent where he's from, and they're not even letting him do that. It's ridiculous. I mean, I don't know what the contracts look like and everything, and that shit's all depends on him, but
I was there for some specific
Yeah.
agenda, not for Yeezy Gap
what
to
is it
be
called?
everything
I mean,
that
we'll
it
see it
could
later.
be, or this dream that I had about
I seen clips on
what the Gap
Instagram
could
and
be,
shit from this
but
exact
it's time
interview.
for me to make my own thing. You know, I have respect and love for the Fisher family, and that's their dad's thing. You know, they made something great.
Who's the
It
Fisher
inspired
family?
me.
Honestly,
Now
have
it's
no
time for
idea.
me to go and make something
Are they the
great
people who made
that
Gap?
inspires the next me, if there ever will be. No,
Oh, his little rhymes.
we had to level up. We really had to level up and show them who's the new boss in town, that I'm the boss of me. I'm no longer just the man riding the top of the polo horse. I'm not just the mascot in the middle of games, getting the crowd hyped up saying, hey, wear this, do this. But, just learn, financial engineering, learn how to.
What's it called? I think, just like he was saying, you're not the mascot for it. He's not the guy on the polo horse. You have to be like that in the way you live your life. Either way, you look at it, you have to make yourself the main character, kind of. Obviously, you have empathy for other people and try to be understanding, but you have to view yourself that way. You have to take care of yourself first, because if you don't, then you start to put other people, other things ahead of yourself, and then the expression that was meant to come from you is not flowing out. So you then begin to limit yourself. You need to see yourself as the main character so that you can continue to grow and become the person that you were always meant to be. Obviously, that's easier said than done. You have to put in a lot of work, and that depends exactly what you're trying to do.
Learn how to really run a company. I had this New Year's resolution that I was only going to talk to people who listen to me.
The Gap provided a statement to ABC News saying in part,
That's kind of interesting. I'm only gonna talk to people who listen to me. Well, I mean, it kind of makes sense though, because you're not wasting your energy putting in. By the way, if there's smoke and you can see it, it's from incense. It's just floating across. But if you, what was I saying? Shoot, let me go back.
We
real
are
quick so I can be
confident.
reminded.
Run a company. I had this New Year's resolution that I was only going to talk to people.
Oh, right. It's like you're not wasting your energy putting it into people who, one, can't reciprocate it. I mean, that's basically it. They just can't. Like, whether it's a lack of self-awareness or just general awareness, their consciousness may not be in a place where it can be reached. There may be too large of a gap. So you guys are completely seeing the world as two separate, different realities because of your contexts as human beings and your level of awareness. Oftentimes, I feel like that's literally why he's just so misunderstood. Especially, well, especially because how the media portrays them. So it's like, how can you be seen any other way, really? That's what mainstream media. They're just, people are consuming it. They're programming themselves with it. Anything you consume programs you. Anything you code into a computer gets programmed in. Obviously, it depends. But basically, as humans, we're the same way. And so everything we're consuming, from our food to information to our environment to vibrations, everything is programming us subconsciously. Excuse me. But since you're being programmed like that, you have to become conscious that you are being programmed and start to cultivate an environment for yourself that allows you to become the person you want to be and allows you to cultivate the reality that you want for yourself. Because if you don't build it, then you're always being influenced by other things. You have to be the one to take responsibility for your life and for what you're trying to do and move yourself in that direction. Let's resume.
People who listen to me.
The Gap provided a statement to ABC News saying in part, "We are confident we have been in compliance with the terms of our agreement since the outset, and we will continue to work amicably to unwind it. Above all, we wish Ye well." Ye remains in a legal battle with Adidas.
So they claim that they haven't breached the contract at all. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
To receive ownership of his brand. The next step, he says, is to sell
This
Yeezy.
photo is so lit. Look how happy he looks, and North is just going crazy. She's doing her thing.
Directly to consumers, something he argued about with radio host Sway back in 2013.
This is such like
Why don't you empower yourself and don't need them and do it yourself?
Pop culture
Sway,
moment.
take a few steps back to go.
How? You ain't got the answers.
Kanye.
Come on.
You ain't got the answers.
Sway had the answers, low key. Little did we know.
Sway, almost 10 years ago,
It's because he was.
man, why don't you do it on your own?
Kanye's already at a place at that point when he was having that interview where his uprising was so already like meteoric, or the way he came up, the way he popped off, that he could have probably taken it himself. I don't know. Maybe it would have taken him longer than if he's done what he's done now. I don't know. Right. But he could have done it himself, I think, just because, again, he's such a huge pillar in the, one, music industry, but also pop culture, just because of everything he's done and the way the media continues to report about him.
Was he right?
You know what? I will go ahead and say Sway had the answer.
He does not look happy about saying that. Look how his lips are puckered up.
People are gonna be like, no.
Is that going to be affordable and accessible for people? Because I know some of your sneakers are thousands of dollars.
I mean, if it's up to Meezy, Yeezy, it'd be Freezy. You know what I mean?
He's always on his soundbite shit.
But you know, life is free. Life is the event. Life is a gift.
But wait, I want to go back to
100%.
that, because you said if it were up to Meezy, it would be Freezy. But how much is it going to be? Because, you know, people
How much is it
want to
gonna
know.
be?
Yeah. First store is going to be in Atlanta, right? People who are going to walk in off the street, can they buy something for $30?
20.
20.
I like multiples of 20. Simplifying things.
20 will get me a T-shirt.
Get you 4 T-shirts.
That'd be crazy.
So it's going to be very accessible,
Very accessible.
very affordable.
Very
To
affordable.
me, the quality's got to be there. I mean, of course, even if quality's not there, people may still like it. But I'm just saying on a personal level, I want my clothes to feel good when I wear it. Good material.
Affordable.
So you were able to kind of accomplish what you needed, it seems, with
Which
Gap and
It's unfortunate because the last drop I did of clothing was not the greatest in quality, but also the first time I really tried to do it, and I didn't sample basically, and I should have sampled. So, but you live and you learn. So in the next one, we're definitely sampling
Adidas, perhaps it was
for a
breach of
while until we
contract
find exactly what we need.
Contract situation, so now you're going to be able to still. You, as a dad, are you getting now some progress with that and able to spend the time you want with your children?
Yeah, absolutely. Everything's a process, and there has been progress. God bless.
See, soundbite shit.
Like
Did it again.
a couple days ago, I got to see my daughter's improvement in basketball. Like the first season, you know, she was just kind of not knowing what to do, not knowing how to handle the ball, not knowing how to handle herself. And, you know, as far as co-parenting goes, I put my foot down with Kim and I said, like, I learned how to play basketball in a summer and came back and won championships. So
Is that true?
I, as her dad, am gonna go
I don't know, I'm not
and
gonna
I'm
do the
gonna
research,
coach her every morning. She trained
I'll just take his
every
word for
day,
it.
and I really
Yeah,
stayed
he's a man
on
of
her.
God.
And when she came back, she had the confidence. She was almost like a Dennis Rodman. I'm saying stuff to her like, never let anyone take anything from you. Protect your little brothers and sisters. Protect the family. Never let anyone take our company. I'm literally saying this to her because I realize
Programming her.
she's one of the people in the family that will make sure
That's what you have to
that
do as a parent.
no one ever takes our company. No one ever takes what me and Kim have built with both of our brands and the brands that we're building now.
Do you feel you have a voice as you're co-parenting now?
I do have a voice, but I had to fight for it. I had to go on Instagram and I had to turn up. You know, people want to be, oh yeah, Kanye, whatever. No, I legally changed my name. It's just a beginning of a respect. Or with Adidas, like, oh, you know, we're just gonna like take your colorways and we're just gonna do that.
The couple's focus on their children was evident in the
The way it
first
just, like,
season of The
cuts off.
Kardashians.
No matter
They didn't want
what we're
that.
going through, I always want my kids to be around their dad as much as possible and just to have their mornings with dad and get dropped off at school.
Jesus.
No, I have a
That was
voice.
probably a heck of a lot.
And I don't agree with certain things as a dad and as a Christian. I have a right to have a voice on what my kids are wearing, what they're watching, what they're eating.
Facts.
And I believe
have to.
I have a platform where
It's literally your job.
I get to say what so many dads can't say out loud. There's so many situations where an entire family will go and basically take control of the kids. I know so many people would hit me like out of Chicago and say, yo, I just went through the same thing as you. And then people will call me and say, hey, are you okay? And I'm like, well, I'm okay now because I said something, but I wasn't okay before with the situation, and that's why I said something.
Yeah, I feel like as men in general, we don't get to speak out a lot. I feel like every time you hear a man speak out for men, for the most part, it gets shut down. I don't know exactly why that is. Maybe I'm not seeing the right information, but right information meaning like enough of a overall view of it. But I do see it a lot. And it's not like I can act as if I know it from a first-hand perspective, but I listen to what a lot of different people have to say and researching, you know, studying. And it's something that I hear a lot. One, obviously with mental health. Two, with a lot of the suicide. Like, even though the people don't want to talk about it, a lot of men kill themselves. And it's because, like he's talking about right now, they hold stuff in and they don't express it. They don't get the chance to. They don't get a person or a community who's supportive enough to not be judgmental about it. And so they just keep it in. And then that shit, like a boiling pot, it boils over. You explode. I've experienced that as on a personal level in like small ways. But for some, I think it's because I'm just a quick learner. So I just understood what it was and continued to move forward. Not that it doesn't continue to happen, but you know, you live again, like I said earlier, and you learn. But men need to speak up. Now, I'm not saying go to just anybody. Therapy may work for people. I don't know. I personally don't like it. I don't like the idea of leaving my mental state up to somebody else. nobody's going to care about me more than me, so I should be the one, if anyone, to take care of my mental state and make sure that it's strong and fortified and faithful. What I mean by faithful is like faithful to yourself in the sense of one, discipline. And yeah, discipline, because that's the highest level of self-love that you can show yourself. That because you have a reality that you're trying to create. And if you're not disciplined, you're not sticking to the person that you say to yourself you're trying to become. So you need to show yourself self-love, which I completely understand is hard for people. And it's hard for me too. Like, everybody is just a regular person, and they're trying to figure out this world that we live in, maneuver through reality. But we don't always get the education necessary to understand what we are actually experiencing, like this experience that we are having together. But nobody has the answer. That's the other thing. You have to go find the answer for yourself, because you are literally the only person who has the answers for you. If you ask people for advice or you take advice from people, you have to realize that that's just a prescription. So what I mean by that is, like, you think of literally you go to take a drug, or they give you a drug at the doctor's, right? They prescribe you something. They say, hey, take this. It should help alleviate the problem. It may or it may not. It could even worsen the problem sometimes. And so you don't know if their advice is going to work, because they don't know you, your context, everything that you've been through as an individual. You do, right? More than they do. I'm not saying it's not good to get outside perspective. Again, if you're going to go to anybody, make sure it's someone you trust. Make sure it's someone who is understanding. And if you don't have anyone, that's really why we're building this entire community, is because it's important to have a safe place where you can go to resolve some issues that you may be going through and alleviate them, so that you can maximize your potential experience here on Earth, because it is limited. And so we want to help make it as fulfilling and as incredible of an experience that you can have here. So that's why we're here, to talk about these certain topics or go back and forth. When we have more people here in the chat, we'll be discussing these things, right? But I think this is the truth, that men need to speak out, continue to speak out, and not just stay silent about it, because we kind of see, I won't say too much, but we see where the world is going. And as the saying goes, strong men create good times create weak men create hard times. So we really need to be vigilant as men to what's going on in our reality. It's our duty to be aware, so that we can do our best as, again, I said, men, to take care of those we love, women as well. But it just depends your goals. I don't know why I zoomed out of that. Let's continue. Kind of went on a
it's
rant.
just little nuances where there was a parallel to what was happening at Gap, what was happening at Adidas, and what was happening in my home. It was all a kind of a disregard for the voice of something that I co-created.
It's a very interesting thing that he's saying, and the fact that he's able to make the fact that he has the ability to make the connection between all three things and find that commonality. That's that pattern recognition.
The children. I co-created the product at Adidas. I co-created the product at Gap. And I let everybody know that there's actually a through line, there's a parallel. And the parallel,
it's got to be mutual respect, because if it's not, then there's no...
Even within your marriage?
Doesn't feel worth it.
Obviously, it's a parallel. What marriage, exactly?
The former marriage, right.
Yeah. I want my kids to go to Donda, and I have to fight for a say-so, because they're just programmed. It's just like, hey, all the kids are going to Sierra Canyon. No, I'm their dad. Like, it has to be co-parenting. It's not up to only...
It's frustrating that it's, to me, that it's like that with our education system and the public school system. Like, you don't really get to choose where your kid's going. They go to wherever your zip code is, or if you take them to like a private school or some other type of school, obviously. But all these kids just get funneled into this system, and this system is not created to suit the type of reality that we live in. That industry, the education industry, is very slow to evolve. So you don't get very much innovation. It's like, I think I heard something like it lags behind by like 50 years, which is ridiculous. That is a way too long, and something needs to be done about that. And I mean, like he's talking about Donda School, so hopefully there are people looking at or working on those type of things. I'd love to get involved in something more like that. Education is, to me, one of the most important things. And again, like I talked about with the therapy and taking accountability for your own mental state, and what some may feel is a burden of maintaining a strong one. And because it is hard, and it can be hard. Life is not necessarily easy. It's definitely not easy, but that's what makes things worth it. The sacrifice and the struggle that you have to have in it, that's what gives it its superb quality. It's the balance, the yin and yang of this pain and this joy and everything that it's able to make you feel. That's why we're here, right? Well, everybody believes different things, but I think we're here to have a specific experience and evolve and understand from it, because the collective consciousness is like on some kind of data collection mission. God is experiencing himself.
Only
I won't go into
the
that.
woman.
Anyways.
Like, men have a choice. Men's voices matter.
Yeah. 100%.
So I understand we've dealt with a lot of frustrations, and there's a lot of protection that I actually brought when I first started dating and when I first got married to Kim. God calls me to not release that. That's still there. This is the mother of my children, and I apologize for any stress that I have caused, even in my frustration, because God calls me to be stronger. But also, ain't nobody else
even
gonna
he's
be
still trying to
causing
grow.
no stress either. I need this person to be least stress and a best sound mind and as calm as possible to be able to raise those children.
That is huge. That is crazy. He's basically, what he's saying is that he wants his wife and the environment around his wife to be of a certain tranquility for the raising of his children, the programming of his children, which is going to affect the rest of their lives. That's why, we often have a hard time, because we get programmed a certain way, and then we have to reverse engineer that programming, which a lot of people don't do. And that's why, while they're not aware of it, they're constantly unconsciously manifesting the reality that they're creating for themselves, and not doing that reverse engineering process so that they can begin to create a reality that they desire. But as a dad and as a man, he is taking all of that into awareness and attempting to do as best as he can. Of course, he comes short, like he said earlier, like we all do, and take care of his children. For me, I want to get a lot of money, to be 100% honest. Like, I'm just not going to lie about it. I think I've talked about it before, but why not, if you can create your own reality, right? Why not create the one that you desire? Why not create the one that you want? There's no point in not doing it, as far as I can see. Again, though, I say that with a grain of salt. Like, you may not be able to fully understand what or perceive what your future entails. Like, I think God gives you a glimpse of some things in your heart that you're like, have these passions, have these desires, but maybe it's not exactly that. Maybe it leads you down a certain road. We don't know, right? We don't know what the future has in store. Only God does. But it's important to take care of your children. And that being said, that goes to their programming as children, when they are the most susceptible to be programmed. And that kind of goes back into the whole education school system, because they're separating the families and destroying the family unit from the inside by allowing the children to be programmed by the schools and by the system and not by their parents. It's also why they go and tell girls, go be independent, go get your job, go do other stuff. One, that. Two, more taxes.
At the end of the day, it's not about another media headline. It's not about what people, a lot of times, people, they go for these clickbaits, and yeah, there's some responsibilities that I still feel needs to be taken by the entire family, right? About the way we present ourselves. Everything that we do, we need to present ourselves with the highest level of nobility. When we're in a position of influence like we are, we have to say, do we want our children to do this? And not just our children, everyone's children. Because we're being used as an influence to everyone's children to sell the product that affords us the houses that we put the 800 million security guards in front of. So knowing that to whom is given, much is required, I also require that. Because I'm sorry, Hulu, I'm sorry, Disney, it didn't work. Even with me out the house, I'm still the head of the house.
I think that many of us had access to see your mom, Donda, in Genius or in other opportunities, and it seemed like she was your #1 supporter, that she invested in you. I mean, I remember at one point she said that you played tracks like Michael Jordan shoots free throws.
Case in point, how many times did you see my dad in that documentary? It would have been like he wasn't even alive. Case in point. And everyone's fine with that. I was taken away. My mom was offered a job by the state in the south side of Chicago, the most dangerous place at that time, on the planet.
Moved you from Atlanta.
Moved me from Atlanta. My dad, think about how smart people say I am. My dad's smarter than me. He didn't have a voice.
And so social media, you feel, is that more hurtful or beneficial to you?
Whew. I love that question too, because I already watched this before, but he's about to go in on what she's asking, and I completely agree with what he's about to say. It's exactly dependent on how you use it, because you can use it one way or you can use it another way. It's a tool. It's an empty vessel. That's what social media is. It's a tool that's an empty vessel. Depending on how you use it, it could be used for good or it can be used for bad. Same thing with like psychedelics. Not necessarily, well, I mean, it could be used for bad, I guess. But, well, technically, if you believe in certain conspiracies, I won't go into it. Anyways, basically what I'm saying, though, is that it just depends how you use it. You have to be careful with these things. They're tools, and you're not the only one who is trying to, as I say, control.
That's one of my favorite
perception
questions
and reality.
This interview. I mean, we can use a car to rush somebody to the hospital, or we could use a car and accidentally hit somebody while we're rushing somebody to the hospital. It's all in how we use it.
It's a good example.
Coming up in a conversation with Ye.
People always want to know, I think, about your mental health. You know, you've talked before about how you were diagnosed as bipolar.
You know what? I think that this idea, this concept of mental health being this big subject is straight up media propaganda to diminish people that are not coloring inside the lines.
They say where your attention goes, your energy flows. So, you could be right, or you could be wrong. I don't know. That's up to you to think for yourself. I don't necessarily have the answers. You got to find them for yourself. That's the whole point of this.
Donda Academy. give me a sense of why you decided you wanted to create
Okay,
a
cool.
school?
So we get to hear more
and
about
what the
his
mission is of the school.
school. I kind of forgot about
Well,
this
it's a
part, to be
gospel
honest.
school. We spread the gospel. I grew up Christian. Both my mom and dad were Christian, and it actually started off, it was called Yeezy Christian Academy, and we started it during COVID. And these are the things that I was interested in, but had to go and work on during, study hall or between classes or after school or on weekends. And to be able to incorporate that, to be a performing arts school, to be a design school, an architecture school, a farming school, automotive engineering school.
It's cool that they have so many like different pathways that you could go through, I guess. He's talking about all these different things that they're going to be teaching.
The computer, hardware, and software school, financial engineering, not just financial literacy.
That's super necessary, especially in the beginning, because you need the kids to try stuff and really see where their skills are at, but also what they enjoy doing the most.
So,
because I think, you could be like, say, for example, you could be really good at one thing, but not enjoy it that much. And you could be maybe a little bit less good at some other thing, but really like it. And just because of your passion and your desire, you're going to be able to go further in it because you're going to put in that extra time and go that extra mile.
To teach the gospel. And that is Donda.
In this moment right now, for you, because you talked about, being able to have a voice in, for example, where your kids go to school, do you want them to go to Donda Academy?
Yeah, absolutely, because, schools are started with, rich people hiring Aristotle to teach their kids. You can have tutors for specific things and actually turn your kids to, like, geniuses. And
yeah, actually, I kind of heard something about this, which I didn't look into very much, but they were talking about how you can basically have them study certain subjects and do certain things that by the time they grow up, they are
if your
smart,
kids are geniuses,
very
promote
intelligent.
that, and like they're 3 grade levels ahead. Like that period of theta between like 4 and 8.
I bet you a lot of people didn't even catch that, but where he's talking about theta right now, he's talking about brainwave frequencies. And this is a very important part. Your brain is just a huge part of your programming and how everything is orientating your reality, because your senses are taking all this information and sending it to the brain. The brain doesn't know, that your senses don't know what the information is. It's just literally data collectors sending it to the brain, and then your brain takes all this information and synthesizes it, and then through your eyes projects out the reality that you believe to be reality. But depending on your, again, level of awareness, you may be aware of these things or not be. That's why I think, again, education is so important, because we need to be educated on these types of things so we can understand how to maneuver ourselves through reality and achieve what it is that we desire.
The kids can
and
learn
create
the
just
most,
a dope world.
and
imagine if everyone had the ability to use their uniqueness to its full potential. Like, what type of creativity we'd have in this world. Maybe buildings wouldn't just be boxes, you know what I mean? Maybe we'd have like skyscrapers, and then the building in freaking, where is it, Saudi Arabia, I believe, that they're trying to build, like the really long one. Maybe it's not that right place. But anyways.
kind of just sitting them in like this mundane,
it's
place
terrible.
into society. It's about like normalizing.
I always felt not great during school. I don't know, the vibe was just very like draining. It just stole your energy away.
The kids and making sure that they fit into society. So yeah, if you ask me, the kids should go to my school and that should be supported.
And it's not supported?
Oh, it's definitely not supported. Like all of these like celebrities, we get so distracted by what the internet just said about us and, what we're doing online or what we have to do with our careers, because it's hard out here. You know what I'm saying? It's like hard enough to just raise a family, but then we have to keep up an image. We got to keep up our cars and our houses and our clothes and all that, not realizing that all the while there's like there's this thing that's like that hurts you when you have to like scream about what your kids are wearing, or or you have to say it like a million times over.
In addition to his family, his energy is also apparent in his business pursuits and Donda Academy. But many are critical of some of his social media posts, leading some to question his mental health.
People always want to know, I think, about your mental health. You've talked before about how you were diagnosed as bipolar.
You know what? I think that this idea, this concept of mental health being this big subject is straight up media propaganda to diminish people that are not coloring inside the lines. Even the Genius documentary was a backhanded version of that by the time they got to the third act, he's like, oh, I turned the camera off on you.
And it doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter. For 2 years, they try to say I want a billionaire.
Well, if you're my friend and my boy, why wouldn't you have said, hey, yo, I turned the camera off on you and I'm gonna put it in this documentary? Unless that's what they want. They want to have it where if there's anything that's innovative, like we just accept this kind of idea of people saying like, hey, we want to talk about your mental health. And it's like, almost like if a white person said to a black person, hey, we want to talk about your blackness.
I get it.
Like, wait, what? We want to talk about this thing.
Wait,
And
what?
one of the things about the whole
Nah, it is an interesting point he brings up, though. It's like, in my frame of thinking, going back to even the therapy thing and taking accountability for your own mental state, it's not your fucking, it's not anybody else's, like, problem, or, well, it may become, but it's not anybody else's job to say where you're at mentally. Like, who are you to tell me where my head's at? I'm the one who has my head. I'm the one who's in there. You know what I mean? You're not the one. You're not in there. You don't hear the kind of thoughts that go on. Not that, again, it's not necessary to express ourselves. It's very necessary to express ourselves. That's, again, one of the reasons that we exist as a company, Lyfe Spectrum, because people need to let it out, but they need to know how to let it out. It's the education part that's important.
The whole mental health conversation is even a crazy person can call you crazy. It's like,
yeah,
no
like
matter
what
you
does that
do,
even
and
mean?
it used to hurt me. It hurt my ego, and it's something that I think, God, put on me. So I feel like when I finally go to heaven, I get to talk to God. I'm gonna say,
Truth is crazy in a world full of
why did
lies.
you let all these people think I was so crazy?
Illusions
And God
everywhere.
is gonna say, well, it was a camouflage. I was protecting you.
Yep. That's the
Protecting
explanation
you
of
from
how
what?
you can't always see the perspective, the immense perspective that God has, because God is within everything and is all knowing. But you can have faith. And having faith in God is also having faith in yourself. But it's also relinquishing to a higher power. You're in a state of acceptance and openness. And as such, you subconsciously manifest the reality you desire while consciously, intentionally aiming to do it.
Just, people write off the fact that I'm gonna change the world. They just think it's crazy.
How are you going to change the world?
More? How are we gonna change the world more?
More?
Fresh air, fresh food. Fresh food cures cancer. I don't want to say that because New York Times is gonna take that and say he's gonna cure cancer. But true enough, it's like your food, your diet is the most important
Your
thing.
live it.
Yeah. Yeah, you live it, yeah. You live it because you don't want to die.
She felt excited about that. Her face.
You are what you eat. You are what you consume. You are what you consume.
That's
not
what we were
just
talking about
eating.
earlier.
You are what you consume in any way.
You're
from
being programmed
the people
24/7,
that
whether
you're
you're
around, sunlight,
aware
type
of it or not,
you know,
consciously or unconsciously. You
music,
are, and
the
you're
art
manifesting
you
at the
listen
same
to.
time.
So
It's karma.
we're gonna change everything. Apple is the #1 company on the planet, and Yeezy's gonna take the spot.
Can't wait to
Yeezy's
watch
gonna
it.
be bigger than Apple. And we're gonna be bigger by supporting the planet.
That's what
So
we
I'm
like to
Steve
hear,
Jobs,
baby.
And the earth is not, no.
But you mean in an apparel way?
It's a lit thing
mean
to
talking
say.
about- you
He
talking
said
about
like
in
this shit's
clothing?
Minecraft
When
to me,
you're
bro.
saying that you're going to change the world and that you're going to replace Apple as Yeezy, I mean, right now we know
Well, I didn't say we're going to
Yeezy is-
replace Apple. We're still going to use Apple. Apple is just it's a standard, it's a base. Apple is part of the reason that Yeezy's going to have the opportunity to be bigger. We're going to stand on the shoulders of Apple. And that's exactly what Steve would have wanted. He would have wanted to inspire a kid like me, as Jay-Z said in the show movie, Eating Cereal, to stand on the shoulders of Apple and take it to the next frontier, and to realize that the human being is the iPhone and our earth is our office. And we need to support both of those things in everything that we do. And that's how, not me, but we, as a collective, our species, we're gonna change the world. We're gonna change the world through information, through knowledge,
Yep,
through love,
education.
through respect, through
100% right there.
understanding. I can't.
That's what we need to do. I don't know why we have all this money floating around. Literally, if you understand how money works, it's all fake. Like, cash is literally just an idea, and we exchange it as if it has some type of value. I mean, it makes the world go around, but if we have so much availability of money, then why can't we do certain things? Why can't we find a solution for pollution? That rhymed. There you go. Soundbite me. But like, for real, I personally don't get it. Like, I look around at certain buildings and they're like a little run down or whatever. And I think, why can't we just have like beautiful buildings everywhere? Like, why can't architecture just be, all buildings be architecturally dope, unique, or maybe there's like a theme to a city. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, if there's all this money out there, why doesn't it go to creating a world that's as good as possible for everyone? It's because we fight each other too much. You know, there's all this animosity, people trying to prove each other wrong or prove themselves right. But if we just agreed that we should do what's best for our neighbor, that would be what's best for ourselves as well. Like, he's talking about building in love.
Can't.
That's what this world needs.
Single-handedly
Where is the love?
change
We're
the
just about to
world.
do some Black Eyed
But
Peas.
we can
But for real, where is the
implement
love, huh?
the truth. And let's start with the truth and start with transparency.
Start with the truth.
And we can collectively.
That's what we're
not
trying to
can,
spread
I don't
here.
Like the word can. We will
My personal
make the
truth,
world better.
so that you can hopefully
And I
understand
in this
for
world,
yourself that that you're capable of discovering your own truth, finding it, and then really understanding what that means to you.
that, as my grandfather used to say, you're gonna need some money. That you're gonna need some money. But when I lean on the idea of the richest black man of all time, it was really in defense of the mental health conversation. It's like, well, if I'm so what you say,
Yeah, that
I
don't even
am,
make any sense. Like,
why
how could
did
you
I end up with this? Maybe I was
put that
right.
out there? That don't.
Maybe I'm actually right about
You
these
just use
things.
clips,
And you
clips
didn't
and
want anyone
headlines.
to know
That's
I was
it.
right. So you said, don't listen to
Clips,
him.
headlines, and bots
He's
to control the narrative.
this. But then you go back and play everything I ever said in slow motion, whether I said it really high or whether I said it really low. And it's like, oh, that's actually true. And there's so many examples throughout
So many people
history
aren't listening.
where
They're just
people were
assuming
misunderstood in their
that they
time.
understand.
And it's too, I do
That's
not
the problem.
like when
You
people say, "Oh,
you immediately think you understand, but you never take a step back to say, okay, I think I get this, but what is really trying to be said? could I be misunderstanding this? There's so many
20
biases.
years ahead of your time.
I'm not again.
Well,
I'm not saying
doing
I'm
a good
perfect
job
and that I
because
do it perfectly every single time, but it's something to be aware of.
to, like we were saying before, be
Awareness is
able
the key.
to actualize these things that are 20 years ahead and bring them to people in real life, or else it's something that only I'm enjoying in my imagination.
That's the best part of life, the low key.
Needs,
Watching something go from your mind and your heart to right in front of your face.
Imaginations. I could like just literally hear.
What if we
Dizzy
were all
Gillespie in
doing
the
that?
back, I see dreams.
Oh, yeah, right.
In 2016, he reimagined himself in the world of politics,
He's a good man.
publicly pledging his support for then Republican candidate Donald Trump. Then in 2020, he ran for president of the United States himself and says his days in politics are not over.
Obviously, you did run for president in 2020. Do you have future political aspirations?
Yes, absolutely. The aspirations, you know, that time wasn't in God's time. I'm sure there's lives that were saved. I'm sure God had me fall on the sword and say, this is not the time. But, you know, he's a redeemer. He's given me this oxygen. He's given me this platform. He's put amazing people around me. He's given me new publicists, a new lease on life.
That's the thing. I feel like a lot of people don't got a certain sense of duty. And I don't blame anybody. I don't judge anybody. To me, it's, again, the key is awareness. So just trying to be aware of things. And I'm ignorant about plenty of things. But we need to be aware of what's going on in our reality. That's everything. What's going on in your mind. Controlling that. Once you control your mind, really, it's as simple as it is. Controlling your mind. And you have to control your environment to do that. But I feel like
air to breathe,
I can't even remember.
and a new respect.
You talked about how we are what we consume, and including who we spend time with. I'm just curious. Apparently, you spend a lot of time with Jared Kushner. Is that just a friendship, or that's political still for the future, or a little both?
His brother said he'd kill him if he go back to the White House.
So
that's the answer.
Oh, okay. But you still want to run for president?
You know, I met Mayor Suarez down in Miami, and I thought he'd make a really good president also.
In addition to you?
While he may not be ready to make a decision on the future of his political career, Ye is already looking toward the future with regard to sustainability and how to make life better for the next generation.
Do you feel like this is a time of renaissance, basically, and that you are even opening up more access for other creators coming up behind you?
Absolutely. We've opened up a lot of access.
That's always the goal.
That's what the school is about.
If you have good intentions.
The school is a platform
to create a better
for
future.
Our next generation. To
a stronger
continue
generation.
This imagination.
Continue the evolution.
To be fearless, to be brave, to be imaginative, to actualize our dream, to bring the visions to reality.
Lyfe Spectrum way.
And not be afraid to. And not have to be called crazy, and not have to be, you know, diminished by the press, and not have to fight in order to just do something for people. Like,
y'all ever seen those clips where it's like you see one news feed and then you see like a bunch of them start to pop up and they're all saying the same shit? It's like, after seeing that, I don't know how you could even continue to watch them, to be honest.
We're really here to serve.
It's like, oh,
you know, I wouldn't mind.
There's
if
one
I was
agenda.
Not
like,
photographed again.
Oh shit.
Want to present. We're gonna present this.
Not that there's not multiple agendas, because there is, but
approach to giving us a
what I mean is like the centralization of the companies and control that they have.
Balance of nature and man.
Lastly, are you still energized by people telling you you can't?
Again, maybe I don't know anything.
Well, I like that you use
maybe
the word
I'm completely wrong
over the word excited. That's Don-defied language. I was
on a whole
with
nother
a friend
level.
of mine, and he had a a slogan.
The funny thing is, like, my brother was literally talking to me about something similar in language, but more to the extent of sound. Like, how does the sound itself promote
all of those words could be
the
more
person? Because even the words are just tools.
More powerful.
They are empty vessels for us to manipulate as conscious beings.
Can is like, okay, we can, but did we? How? It's a question.
You guys like my bedroom?
The truth is unquestionable. To speak in affirmations like Yoda and help, actually the fourth definition
We win, we
in the
shall.
word help is to avoid.
That was terrible.
It's
I'd
like
never
when
tried
you're
to do
at the end
Yoda's
of a
voice.
meeting with somebody
It was
and
my
they
first
say,
try.
"Oh, how can I help?" It's meaning like, I'm gonna give you somebody else's number because I'm not going to be the one to be dealing with you, type of thing. So, and with the word excited, so many times people get excited and they make a rash decision. Whereas with us, when things happen that are amazing or things happen that are disappointing, we stay energized, we stay level, we stay peaceful through that. And that's the next frontier, that's the next level of this video game of life.
Right now, Ye
Phew.
is
Video game of life. Realize, guys, this is Sims. This is GTA. You are the main character. You pick and choose the things you do. Every time you make a decision, you make the decision to not make a million other decisions, things you could have done. Every time you sit there on your phone, scrolling on TikTok or whatever it is, whatever social media, you're deciding not to edit a video. You're deciding not to go shoot those photographs. You're deciding not to make that music. You're deciding not to make those clothes. You're deciding not to go spend time with your family. You're deciding to not, again, do a billion other things that you could be doing. You guys got to realize that every decision you make is affecting your life. So realize that you're the one in control. This is your game. You are the director. You are the producer. You're the screenwriter. You're the actor. But you got to act like it. You got to take, again, it starts with accountability. Accountability for your own life. And take life by the cojones, let's say. Take life by the cojones and do with it what you will. Create your own reality. Manifest your dreams, like he said. That's the end of this.
Finish that sentence.
Tired of doing the interview.
That's how it ends, bro. I'm dead. Are you for reals?